Welcome back, everyone. Uh, I'm Apollo the Storyteller, and this is Shadowrun Dragonfall. Uh, we're starting. We just came back from Das Drogenkippe, a seedy club and hotel, hoping to find answers about Monica's death, and it only brought back more questions. But we were able to obtain a data disk, and we'll see what's on it. So let's move forward. Also, I figured out this little thingy in the corner, in the lower right, is how I advance the skills of my team. So let's have a look what we got here. Sniper specialist or shotgun specialist. I think I want Aiga to specialize as a sniper because she's a good shot and she does a lot of damage. Okay. Confirm. And then Dietrich. Meltdown, Dietrich's Electro Core spell now strips 1 armor from affected targets. Or Blade Specialist, Dietrich trains further with thrown weapons, increasing his accuracy with throwing knives. I think I want something that can take down the armor a little bit on my team, because otherwise blades are useless. Okay. Are you sure you want to confirm these selections? This action cannot be undone. Okay. And then Glory. Razor Specialist. Glory gains a melee attack or razor slash followed by a kick. Pierces up to 1 armor. May do AP damage. Cost 1 AP. Cooldown 2 turns. Glory gains a pistol ability. Firepower around. Does an additional 2 damage and pierces up to 2 armor. You know, I like the Razor Specialist one better, I think. Which I haven't really used her Razor abilities. I think I should have been switching weapons on her, but I'm still some things I haven't quite figured out, I don't think. Okay, and we just got him, so he doesn't have anything available. Okay, let's go to the safe house and see what these data disks are all about. Blitz looks up at your approach. The table beside him is littered with cigarette butts, and a data jack cable dangles from a portable terminal set up by his side. Hey, Chief. You need something? Now that you're all settled in, I've got some questions for you. Blitz glances wistfully back at the terminal on the table and then turns back with a sigh of resignation. I suppose, but try to keep it short, okay, Chief? I've got things to do. How long were you in Drogenkippe? I ended up there after the anarchist revolution of '39. I was just a kid back then, too young to realize how good I was, how much money I could have made working the shadows. He shakes his head, a wistful expression on his face. And so, being young and dumb, I fell in love with the gang crowd, and that was that. You're a member of a drug gang? Why should I trust you? Why wouldn't you, Chief? I mean, just look at me. He does his best to give you a winning smile. I'm a trustworthy guy. Prove it. Tell me about the gang that you ran with. Well, I don't know all that much, Chief. I wasn't a member of a gang leadership or anything. I'm not really sure why you care either. Consider it a test. I need to know where your loyalties lie. He rolls his eyes. If that's what it'll take for you to trust me, fine. Anything for you, Chief. Well, where do I begin? When I first arrived at Drogenkippe, I spent some time taking in the lay of the land. The Schwarze Herzen were still a pretty small gang. strictly street level, but I could see they were going places. I did a little pro bono decking for their leadership, a fat little dwarf named Dieter. Soon enough, I was part of the family. For a drug gang, the Schwarze Herzen were decent enough folks. I made a lot of money with them, helped them take the hotel in the first place. We had a lot of good years there. Then Dieter was killed in a firefight and our happy little family fell apart. Was that when the hotel got attacked? Blitz takes a deep breath, shifts his weight from one foot to another. Not exactly. The Schwarze Herzen maintained their hold on Drogenkippe, but the change of leadership was bad news for me. After Dieter kicked the bucket, his second-in-command took over. She was a real piece of work, called herself Leonie Luster. She had a vicious streak a mile long, and she was none too fond of me. Did she turn on you? Immediately. I don't know why. Maybe she felt threatened by my friendship with Dieter back before he ate that bullet. Or maybe she was just jealous of my rugged good looks. Who the hell knows? The point is, she went after me, vigorously. Within 24 hours of Dieter's death, I had a price on my head, and then the hotel got taken over. So that's what you need to know about the Schwarze Herzen. They were a great gang, a powerful gang. I helped to make them that way. Then they had a management turnover and everything went to hell. Blitz rocks back on his feet, his hands in his pockets. That's it. End of story. Anything else you want to talk about? Wait a second. That isn't it. There are some pretty big holes in that story. Come on, Chief, this is all ancient history. Wouldn't you rather talk about the future? The runs we're gonna go on, all the money we're gonna make? Blitz. Tell me what happened between Luster putting the price on your head and the hotel getting attacked. Alright, Chief, fine. If that's what it'll take to make you happy. So I was in a bind, right? Members of the Schwarze Herzen who were loyal to Luster were all out for my blood, and none of the others were going to stick their necks out for me. The advantage of being a ganger is protection in numbers. When those numbers turn against you, you've got to get creative if you want to stay alive. What did you do? Blitz taps the plastic of his data jack. What I had to. Luster had declared war on me, so I retaliated, and I won, all without ever firing a shot. That's not an answer. Blitz sighs. You won't be satisfied until I spell it out, will you? Okay, fine. I hacked into Luster's computer and sent all her information to a rival organization. Remember Frank from the hotel? He was my liaison. They hit the Schwarze Herzen, and they hit him hard. Then they took the hotel. And, then they took me. I'll admit that the plan backfired a little. You did what you had to do. In your place, I'd probably have done the same. Thanks, Chief. I knew you'd understand. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to get back to what I was doing. He gives you a lazy salute. We'll talk later, I'm sure. And Chief, I'd be glad to be a member of the team. I'm glad to be a member of the team. Well, that's a nice little story that Blitz had to tell. Alright, let's talk to Amsel, see what he can tell us about these data disks. Amsel's expression is harder than you've seen it before. When he speaks, his voice is grim. Iga told me of Green Winter's death. She said that he died in the same manner that Monica did. It wasn't a pretty sight. Amsel nods gravely. I know that you and Iger have had your differences, and I will tell you that she was badly shaken by the sight of Winter's body. She also mentioned that you found something in Winter's safe, a package full of very old data disks. May I see them? Hand over the disks, of course. Good God. Gingerly, Amsel lifts a disk from the bundle and holds it up to the light. Slowly, he begins to turn it in his hand, causing rainbow patterns to shimmer across its surface. I haven't seen one of these since I was a boy. This is a DVD-RW, a data storage medium from the mid-2000s. I'm amazed that Winters was able to find a device that could play it. Do you know how we can read these things? He puts down the DVD in his hands and quickly inspects the others. The first disc that I looked at might be readable. The others are damaged, some severely so. I have my doubts about them. For now, let's concentrate on the undamaged disc. There's a little shop outside the Data Haven. Talk to the proprietor, Malit Holei. She might be able to help. Tell her to put the cost of the device on my account. I'm on it. Alright, let's go get these data discs. Ancient DVD technology. Read, so we can find out what's on them. Ah, yeah, this person. Malit Holei. Welcome back. What can I do for you? Oh, a broken drone. I forgot about the broken drone. I acquired this drone. Can you get it up and running again? Yeah, probably. It might take a little bit of doing, though. I love working on these old core drones. Can't make you any guarantees, but either way, it's on the house. I'll leave it in your hands. I'll start on it right now. See you later. Hang on a second. There was something else that I wanted to talk to you about. I'm looking for something that can play back a DVD-RW. Really? That is old tech. Very old. In fact, just a moment. I'll go look. She turns to rummage through a bin of obsolete components at the back of her stall. Ah, yes, here we are. The dwarf wrestles a mid-sized flat-screen display out of the bin. This display has old enough hookups to connect to a DVD player. RCA, you know. Vintage. The player itself, though, this I do not have. You may wish to try your luck down at the junkyard. There is a scavenger there, a primitive man with a crude disposition. If anyone here in the Kreutz Bazaar can help you find your DVD player, he can. But he will almost certainly attempt to overcharge you for it. She takes a deep breath and smiles up at you. But you are not here for gossip. Shall we conclude our business? I could give you the display for, say, 200 new yen? Paul Amdasel said to charge it to his account. Ah, very well. I will have it packaged up and delivered to Herr Amsel straight away. Best of luck finding your DVD reader. I wish you well. Alright. Let's see. Over that way. A stout old man looks up from whatever old tech he's tinkering with to squint at you through thick, old-fashioned glasses. He pushes them up with an oil-stained finger as he straightens up to nod at you. He speaks with a gruff but well-meaning tone, heavily accented with German tonality. Guten Tag. What can I do for you? Malit tells me you're the man to speak to about DVDs. That little shrew sent you my way, huh? Shroddy's smile broadens. Will wonders never cease. Well, introductions are in order, I suppose. Shorty Bookman at your service. The old man raises a grimy hand in salute. Need something salvaged? Some old components vielleicht? I am indeed your man. Wonderful. How about that DVD player? Well, let's see. I think that I've got something that'll work for you. Shorty rummages through the junk heap on the table behind him. A few seconds later, he snatches a battered plastic lozenge shape from the pile. Ah, here we go. An old Korean player that I dug up last week. 2010 model, a real beauty. Shorty's smile broadens and he gives you a conspiratorial wink. I fixed her up and got her running, but without any discs to read. I've mostly been using her as a paperweight. Sounds like what I'm looking for. How much do you want for it? Shorty glances back at the DVD player, a rueful expression on his face. Well, I admit I'm a little loath to part with her. There are plenty of folks out there who'd really appreciate an old player such as this, and I don't know what your intentions are for it. I suppose, given the time and trouble I took putting her back together, I'd be willing to part with her for, oh, say. Shorty's eyes dart over your gear, a calculated expression on his face. About 500 new yen? I'll go ahead and just hand it over. Shorty blinks a bit with surprise, but his beard betrays no movement in his face. You just... All right there, friend. He picks up the ancient device from the table, gingerly, and presses it into your hands. The plastic is scuffed and worn, and it rattles a bit when you move it. A hell of a deal. Anyway, I'm happy knowing that she's gonna see some use again. Give her some good use, okay? I probably overpaid for that, but I didn't feel like going through the whole rigmarole for that. So, returning to Paul with the goods. It seems that Amzil has assembled the team in your absence. They stand in a group around the old display that you had Malit deliver. On their faces you can see excitement and apprehension, curiosity and dread. Apollo, have you procured a DVD player, a DVD reader? Hand Amzil the DVD player. I have. It's right here. Good. This should only take a moment. Amzil disappears behind the ancient display after a few minutes of fiddling with its battered inputs. He reappears, a satisfied look on his face. Everything appears to be functional. The disc should be ready to play. Well, don't keep us in suspense. Start the damn thing already. Apollo went to the trouble of fetching everything. Let him do the honors. Amzil steps back, clearing a path for you to access the antique machine. I'll press the button. A soft whirring sound fills the air as the ancient DVD player spins the disc up to speed. The scratched LCD display comes to life and a menu fills the screen. Play track 1. The screen goes black and a cheerful digital chiming sound spills out of the display's speakers. A crackle of static fills the air, coupled with a shrill electronic whine. After a few moments, the display goes live, and a disheveled-looking man appears on the screen. His eyes glitter with excitement. The timestamp on the screen is 2034, September 15th. Adrian Fauclair. Hermie, I think we found her. After all this time, Feuerschwinge. I knew that she wasn't dead. His speech is jittery. You can hear the urgency in his voice. She survived the Dragonfall, just as I've always said. I knew it, and I was right. The screen explodes into static, and the electronic whine in the background sharpens into a needle-like pulse of high-pitched sound. Somewhere in the background, Dante lets out a low whimper. The screen clears, and the excited face is closer to the screen than it was before. The words spill out of him in a breathless tide. Taking a team into the SOX to retrieve her, the radiation be damned. We will take appropriate precautions, of course, but we must go. Hermie, I think that the body may be nearby as well. Somehow she has survived for all of this time. The screen explodes into static again and then clears. The figure flickers across the screen. May not be back for some time. Look after Mom, okay? I worry about her. And Hermie, stay safe out there. I know that things are heating up in Berlin, and I know you. Student protests, civil uprising. You'll be in the middle of it, I'm sure. Just stay safe, alright? And I'll do my best to do the same. I don't know what's going to happen when I step into the SOX, but I do know one thing. If the Fire Wing is still a danger, I will put an end to her, once and for all. Display goes black and the background whine fades away. A moment later, you find yourself deposited back at the menu screen. Play track 2. Goes black for a moment, then figure appears on the screen, your late client, Green Winters. His elbow is planted on the table that he's seated at, and his chin rests on his palm. The other hand is wrapped around a bottle of cheap whiskey. The timestamp on the window reads 2053, December 25th. Found the message Adrian left me all those years ago. Got it cleaned up as best I could. Strange hearing his voice again. He pauses to take a long pull on the bottle. It's good to hear him, even if he did insist on calling me Hermie. Dr. Adrian Fauclair, the hero of the people, the Dragon Slayer, my brother. He grimaces and rubs his eyes. Hard to believe it's been almost 20 years. Alright, so I'm going to start recording these DVDs again. For me, for Adrian, for whomever might wind up watching them. Every time I do this, it winds up feeling like a waste of time, but I keep doing it anyway, on the off chance that I'll find something important. If I stumble into the clue that leads me to my brother, I know that I'm going to want it on film. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, after all. No sense in quitting now. Christ, 20 years. All this time and still no leads, even with all my contacts and my resources. He takes another long swallow of cheap liquor. Even with my legendary bullheadedness, I've made no progress at all. I haven't turned up a single goddamn thing. Want to hear something funny? The closest I've gotten to a clue was a rumor. Apparently a team emerged from the SOX a while back. Nobody's clear on the date. But, and get this, he leans in close to the camera and gives a conspiratorial wink. Supposedly, they've vanished without a trace. He upends the bottle, drains it, slams it back down to the table. His eyes are rimmed with red. Not much of a rumor considering. I already know that you're gone, big brother. I live with that every day. Abruptly, Winters leans forward and reaches for something off screen. The display goes black. A few seconds later, the main menu returns. Track 3. There's a grinding sound from the DVD tray, and Green Winter's image appears on the screen. There is an eager look on his face. Timestamp on the video reads 2054, October 12th. Stumbled upon this archival footage of Feuerschwinger's original attack, months before the Dragonfall. Easy to forget how devastating it was. Adrian saved a lot of people bringing her down. I've got the footage all queued up to play, starting it now, additional comments to follow. Slow whir, the DVD player shifts to a high-pitched whine. A distorted, wavering image blooms into being on the screen. A timestamp in the upper right corner of the screen marks the date, July 6, 2012. It's difficult to make out what you're seeing at first. The screen is dark and smoky, and the telltale flashes of emergency vehicle lights flicker on the periphery of the screen. The camera pushes in, and you can make out two figures standing in a ruined landscape. All at once, the sound cuts in. Reporter. Again, for those of you just joining us, we are coming to you live from Stolberg. A few hours ago, the Dragonfall launched an unprovoked attack on this sleepy Harz mountain town, and you can see the results behind me: fire, ashes, and blood. We are joined tonight by a survivor of this latest and most horrifying attack. The reporter turns to face a pale man standing behind him. Sir, I understand that you've been through a terrible ordeal. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us tonight. Survivor. The camera switches focus to a middle-aged man with a haunted look in his face. He stammers out a reply. Yes, of course. If you could, sir, could you please tell the people at home about your experience of the attack? It was horrible. Just pure chaos. So many people are dead. People I knew, roasted alive, or trampled to death trying to escape. My own house was burned to the ground during the attack. My family, we have nothing now. You all made it through the attack, though? Your wife, your kids? Yeah, we all made it, thank God. We rode out the attack in a small shelter. Me, my wife, and our 2 daughters. The shelter, it protected us, but the heat was just unbearable. We couldn't have stayed in there much longer than we did. How long were you holed up in there? 3, maybe 4 hours? I don't know. We just stayed inside until the heat died down and the screaming stopped. And what happened after that? When it was over, you know, when the air cooled down, the reporter nods and the man continues. We stepped outside. There was nothing left, just smoldering wreckage and this dense cloud of black, oily smoke, and the stench in the air. God, that smell. It smelled like roasting meat. There's a long pause from the tortured look on his face. You can tell that the man is struggling to decide whether or not to continue speaking. Eventually, he does. My girls, they found what was left of their nanny outside. Her body, what was left of it, was slumped against the shelter door. I keep telling myself that I couldn't hear her pounding to get in. But that isn't true. I could. I just couldn't bring myself to open that door. I couldn't risk my family like that. Not for her. Not for anyone. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to speak with us. Yeah. You heard it here, an absolutely chilling account of tonight's attack. Again, the town of Stolberg has been reduced to ash. Another victim of the Fire Wing. Stay with us for our for more up-to-the-minute reporting on Feuerschwinger's reign of terror. Green Winter's face reappears on the screen. Okay, it's time for a new approach. Adrian's a complete dead end, and that much is pretty clear by now. So I'm going to do some digging on Feuerschwinger instead. Let's see where this goes. The screen abruptly goes black as the video cuts off. A few moments later, you find yourself returned to the menu screen. The DVD player ramps up to speed, filling the air with a shrill whining sound. Green Winter's image appears on the screen. The timestamp on the video reads 2054, October 31st. Well, that was a bust. Little progress on Feuerschwinger either. He shakes his head. I don't know. It's weird. The information is there, it's just wrong somehow. It's too well laid out, too simple. Real life is messy, and this feels just a little too neat. That's not the only thing that's nagging at me. I'm getting that tingly feeling all up and down the back of my neck again. It feels like I'm being tracked. I'm no Matrix hotshot like Clockwork or Schaefer, but I'm good enough to know when someone's on my scent. Gotta install some new security measures. Can't be too careful. Winter's image disappears. The display goes black. A few seconds later, the main menu returns. Display goes blank for a moment, then the face of Green Winters winks onto the screen. He is seated at a computer. Off to his left, an enormous monitor fills the screen. His voice carries on an edge of panic. The timestamp on the video reads 2054, November 9th. Christ, I'm getting too close to something. There's a trail of bodies and there's been disappearances. Gearbox, Martian, Peregrine. They've all disappeared within the past few years. Gearbox just went AWOL yesterday. And they were all making the same sorts of inquiries about the Fire Wing that I've been. There are ghost stories spreading around the Decker community. Stories about Deckers disappearing and then showing up again later, but wrong somehow. Scary stuff, and I'm starting to think that it's true. Blitz leans in to whisper to you. I know the stories he's talking about, Chief. Never really put much stock in them. Not until now. Could these rumors be related to what's happening here? Am I being paranoid? He pauses for a moment, as if seriously considering the question. Then he shakes his head and slams his fist on the table. No, I don't think so. Something big is happening here, and I'm right in the middle of it. Iger cuts in. That's a bit of a leap. One other thing. Tolstoy told me a story about a kill team that might be related to all this. Apparently, a Decker named Hellebore posted a theory about Feuerschwinger to the Shadowrun BBS about 5 years ago. About an hour later, a mil-spec team showed up in meat space and cooked her entire apartment with her in it. If what Tolstoy told me was true, Hellebore live posted the event. She described her killer, this great big orc with skin grafts. Then the whole thread disappeared, gone without a trace. Sounds familiar. Leap, Igor love? Sounds like he's on the right track to me. Igor holds her silence but concedes the point with a small nod. On the screen, Winters pauses. He looks like he's working up to something. Finally, he speaks. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. This has gotta be Feuerschwinge. All of it. Adrian was right about her. She's still alive, and she's out of the SOX. She's covering her tracks, working the shadows, preparing to rise again. And that means I have to find you, Adrian, for everyone's sake. Thankfully, I've got a lead. For the first time in 2 decades, I've got a solid goddamn lead. I've backtraced all the Matrix nodes that Hellebore was looking into, back before she got cooked. Whoever's been purging the Matrix didn't think about that. And I found that she'd turned up. Winter stabs a few keys on his keyboard, and an image expands to fill the screen of his monitor. A satellite photo of a rural landscape, annotated with GPS data. A set of map coordinates. So now, I've got a target. A place to start digging. The Harfield Manor. Conveniently located on an isolated stretch of countryside, miles away from prying eyes. Matrix records indicate that some sort of data vault exists beneath the estate, so that's what I need to get into. And this is where we came in. As if on cue, a familiar image winks onto the monitor, to Winter's left, Monica. I think I'm going to tap Schaefer for this job. She's got the skills to bypass whatever security they're running out there, and she's gullible enough to take the job in the first place. I'll feed her some line about flux state security, and she'll eat it up with a spoon. I've warned her. Amsel's voice is choked with rage. I warned her. On the display, Winter's mouth parts into a broad grin. Time to put plans into motion. By this time tomorrow night, I should have the information that I need. And on the off chance that Schaefer gets taken out, well, that'll tell me something too. Can't make an omelet and all that. Until then. Winter's image disappears. The display goes black. A few seconds later, the main menu returns. Play track 6. When you play the 6th track, a small video window appears. You recognize the scene in the window. You are looking at the tattered drapes and nicotine-stained wallpaper of Winter's hotel room at Das Kessel House. The timestamp on the video reads 2054, November 10th. There's a blur of motion, and the haggard form of Green Winters lumbers into frame. Suspicions confirmed. Schaefer dead. Christ. Winters reaches a shaking hand off camera. A moment later, it returns, clutching a cheap plastic drinking glass. He gulps something down, wipes his mouth with the back of his hand, and takes a deep breath. Okay. Back up. Slow down. Start from the beginning. Winters closes his eyes and makes a visible effort to calm himself. When he speaks again, his voice is steady. Got the call from my contact in the Kreutz Bazaar. Schaefer killed on the estate run. Matrix security at the estate cooked her brain. Considering Schaefer's skill and experience, on-site ice must have been extreme, even by Berlin standards. Security of that kind costs money, real money. Given the evidence uncovered so far, corporate involvement unlikely. The connection to the Fire Wing is too strong. So, let's come right out and say it. The dragon is what we're dealing with here. The smart money says that she's coming for me next. Well, I won't go down without a fight. I've still got my contacts, still got my connections. And the flux state can be a hell of a weapon for the man who knows how to manipulate it. Winters takes another long pull from his glass, grimaces, and swallows. Time for me to make my play. Ghost stories or no, missing Deckers or no, I've got to jack into the Matrix and start pulling strings. The countermeasures that I installed earlier should be more than enough to keep me safe for the 20 minutes I'll be in there. Winters drains the rest of the glass, then tosses it back over his shoulder. A moment later, you hear the dull clattering sound of hard plastic on linoleum. Schaefer's death was tragic. She was a staunch supporter of the F-state. But still, all things considered... Winters fishes for something off-screen. A moment later, his hand reappears, clutching a data jack cable. Better her than me. He plugs the cable into his head, and the screen cuts to static. Eject the DVD. As your finger nears the eject button, a black screen cuts in over the static. A moment later, Green Winter's haggard face appears. If you're watching this, then I guess they've caught up to me. They will be after you too now. Blitz whispers into your ear again, more harshly this time. What the hell is this? Why didn't you warn me about this before I came here? Not now, Blitz. Whoever you are, whatever you think you're after, you need to find Dr. Adrian Fauclair. Not because he's my brother. Because if Feuerschwinge is rising again, he's the only one who can stop her. You've seen what happens to people who get too close to this. I'm dead, and dozens of others have died. You'll be next, unless you can find Adrian. The screen cuts back to static. The message is over. The DVD tray slides out of the reader. Well, the room goes quiet as everyone struggles to process what you've just seen on the DVD. Finally, Dietrich breaks the silence. A dragon. Son of a bitch. Green Winter sent us up against a dragon. The Firewing. Amsel's voice is thick with dread. She lives. I'm really starting to regret the fact that I didn't just stay at the hotel. Iger ignores him. Wait a second. We don't know for certain. Dietrich lays a hand on Iger's shoulder. The evidence seemed pretty convincing to me, love. Whoops. I'll even take it a step further. I think that secret facility that we stumbled into was her lair. The room falls silent. Iger and Glory exchange glances. After a moment, Dietrich continues. Just think about it. The Decker that Winters got those coordinates from was posting about Feuerschwinge. Then she was killed by that same orcish bastard that attacked us after Monica died. That's a direct link between the dragon, the scarred orc, and the Harfield Manor. Then Winters was killed by the same thing that killed Monica. Exactly. My gut tells me that the dragon is down there, Apollo. Someplace far beneath the surface. I think that we knocked on the door to her lair without even knowing it. And I think that, given what we've seen, the dragon will do whatever it takes to keep us quiet about it. Okay. Going on the assumption that there is a dragon, and that she will come after us, what do you propose that we do about it? I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to follow Winter's advice, and we're going to find Fauclair. Yes, Apollo is right. Finding Fauclair should be our priority. If we're going to go up against a dragon, we need to find ourselves a dragon slayer. Winters spent 20 years searching for Fauclair, and it got him nowhere. How do you propose that we find him? With the help of an information broker. I'll go talk to Altug then. For this? No. While Herr Burakgazi is very capable, a task of this magnitude? is beyond him. We need to make contact with the premier information broker in Berlin. We need to talk to Alice. Blitz scoffs at Amsel. Alice? Best of luck, and I hope that you're rich. Amsel raises an eyebrow. For this? Rich enough, even if only just. Who is this Alice? A most prominent figure in Berlin's shadow community, ex-Schockwellenreiter. She provides information retrieval services for the F-State. Amsel turns to the computer console behind him and runs his finger over a virtual keyboard. The machine begins to hum. If Winters was right, if Vauclair is still alive, she can help us find him. The console spits out a stick of black plastic. Amsel plucks it from the computer and hands it to you. Here, your key to speak with Alice. A cred stick? Amsel nods. An encoded cred stick, yes. 10,000 new yen. Alice will not show her face for less. This represents the last of my personal savings, Apollo. Make this meeting count. Where do I need to go? Take the U-Bahn to Altstadt Spandau. There you will find a connected tube that locals refer to as the rabbit hole. You'll find a method of contacting Alice there. Don't call it that in front of her, though. Word on the street is that she hates it. Please hurry. While you're out, I will work on acquiring new contracts for the team. Alice is the best there is at what she does, and her services carry a price tag to match. Very good. Well, that was a lot of story building. No action this time. I'm gonna have to cut this stream short, as I've got a busy day left ahead of me. I wanted to say one thing. I realized I forgot to upload the archive of the last stream. So sorry about that if you were looking for it. So I'm gonna upload that. I'm gonna start uploading that right before, or right after this stream. So you should be seeing that within a few hours of this stream ending, and then I'll upload the next one right after. So anyway, thank you all for joining me. If you missed previous streams, you can find those streams on YouTube. There's a link below. Also, if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at Apollo Story. Y'all have a good night, everyone.